This is Phil Shackleton, and this tutorial is about how to install a new set of key commands that you have been given by someone else into your computer's implementation of Logic Pro. Option K is the single most important key command to know because it opens the key commands window. If you forget it, of course, you can go up here to the Logic Pro X menu, key commands, go to edit, and there's the key command that does the same thing, but you can also access it with the mouse if you need to, if you just can't remember Option K to open the key commands window. Nevertheless, it's a very important one to memorize because, among other things, it allows you to search for key commands you don't know by typing in a search term. More about that in a different tutorial, however. This tutorial is primarily just to get you introduced to the organization of key commands and get you with a skill to import new key commands into your own system. And of course, what I want you to do is to import my key commands into your system. So here's the organization. Key commands have various windows that they work in. And not all key commands work in all windows, and not all key commands work the same way in all windows, but some key commands do work in all the windows. So those are global key commands. Here are key commands that work in something called various windows. That means they work in quite a few windows, but not quite all. And then here are key commands for windows showing audio files. And here are key commands for the main window tracks and various editors. That would be the event list, the score editor, the piano roll editor, and so forth. And then here are more key commands for various editors. These are key commands that don't necessarily work in the main window tracks window, but do work in the editors. And then finally, here's key commands that work in the main window tracks, but not the various editors. And here's key commands for the mixer, key commands for the MIDI environment, key commands for the piano roll, key commands dedicated to the score editor, key commands dedicated to the event editor, and so on. So as you can see, there are a lot of available key commands. Now there's something that I want you to see before I go forward. Do you see that up here, used is selected? In fact, when you click the Used button, this window constrains itself to only showing you the key commands that have already been defined. If you click instead All, it shows you all the available key commands, including those that have been defined and those that have not. So for example, right now, the key command for capture as recording and play has not been defined. It could be defined. You could click Learn by Key Label and define it. And there is going to be another tutorial for you to look for called How to Create Key Commands, and you can go watch that tutorial. But for now, just understand that rather than forcing you to look at all of these undefined key commands where there's a potential for a key command, but it hasn't been actually defined yet, what you can do is click Used. And now you're only seeing those key commands that have been defined to do something. Clearly, nobody memorizes all of these key commands. So what you do is you memorize the ones you use a lot, and for the most part, you can do a great many of these things on menus. If you will notice, some of the key commands have an asterisk. That means that those are functions that are only available in that specific way via a key command. This means there is no direct menu accessibility to do one of these things. So if it has an asterisk, the only way to do it is with a key command, although sometimes you can do it with the mouse on a parameter value or something of that sort. The asterisk just means that it's not directly on a menu. It doesn't mean there's no possible way to do it with the mouse. So let's go forward now and import some key commands. So on this menu, click Import Key Commands. And I'm going to not save changes right now. Excuse me. So I'm going to navigate to a window where I've been keeping things for these tutorials, and I'm going to open these key commands right here. And I want to click Show Conflicts, and this will be conflicts between key commands in logic and key commands in the system, and it will also be conflicts between key commands that are in logic. If you hover the mouse over one of these exclamation points that tells you there's a conflict, it's supposed to come up with a little box that tells you what the problem is. But for some reason the box is not coming up to tell me. However, I happen to know that the problem with these two is that they conflict with system preferences. In other words, the whole computer's system preferences. So we're going to go find those two and get rid of them now. So I'm going up to the Apple menu to System Preferences, click Keyboard, click Shortcuts, and those two happen to be in Spotlight. So I'm going to uncheck these two keyboard ways of accessing Spotlight. That means that when you've done this and you need to use Spotlight, go up here and just click that magnifying glass and it brings up Spotlight. So now let's go back to Logic, and you can see that those two conflicts just disappeared. They're not there anymore. Now here's a conflict where the same key command appears to be assigned to two different commands inside Logic. So I'm going to click Learn by Key Label. I guess I have to select it first. Now I'm going to click Learn by Key Label and hit Delete. Now this key command has been deleted. I'm going to turn off Learn by Key Label by clicking on it again. And now when I click up here, look, it removed the exclamation point. I no longer have a conflict where I'm trying to use the same key command to do two different things inside Logic. This one, I believe, well, this command F5 is also a conflict inside the system. Not the logic system, but the global system. Yeah, here it is. This is an example of the kind of tag I was trying to make appear earlier. And this one is a system preference conflict. So we're going to go back to the system preferences. Shortcuts. Actually, you would go to Keyboard and then Shortcuts. And we're going to Accessibility, and here it is. This is to control VoiceOver. VoiceOver is a function that will read text off the screen to you if you need to have that. But for right now, we're going to turn that off. So that means that Command F5 should no longer be conflicting with Logic, and indeed, you just saw it disappear. I don't know where this one is. I think it's somewhere in the system that it's a conflict, but I don't know with what. And here we have the same key command assigned to two different things in Logic, so we'd have to decide which one we want to get rid of. For right now, I'm going to have it, I think I'm going to delete this version of it, just so you can see how that would work. So we're going to select this, click Learn by Key Label, click Delete, and then I'm going to unclick Learn by Key Label so it's no longer selected. And now when I click on this one, that exclamation point illustrating the conflict is going to disappear. So that's how to install key commands into Logic Pro. And you'll need to do this to install my key commands into your system, and I'll make those available to you in the Canvas setup for our class, or either there or in the Dropbox that we'll be creating for our class.